Without Jarrett Allen, my man Evan Mobley, blocking everything in sight, altering everything in sight, dunking on people, Donovan Mitchell showing up, right? Like, this is a big series for Donovan Mitchell because is he going to go for an extension? Is he not? And if he's not going to go for the extension, that means you got to trade him. And if the Cavaliers don't get out of the first round with Donovan Mitchell, you can see why the Cavaliers have said it was worth the risk, but it did not pay off the way that we wanted it to pay off. It brought us a level of credibility, but it did not help us ascend competitively. But Donovan Mitchell brought it last night. He brought it in the second half. It was Donovan Mitchell versus Paolo Banchero. Like something just mano y mano. Paolo Banchero, a dude. Like, he looked like an element of like baby Carmelo out there with some of the shots and some of the moves that he had last night. Like, I like that. Once again, that's a series. That's a game 5. That's a series of two teams that you ain't gonna scheme nobody open. You ain't scheming. You're not scheming anything by game 5. You know, there's maybe a trick or two that you got. But at this point, it comes down to execution. It comes down to, is my guy better than your guy? So that's why you saw Paolo Banchero being Orlando's guy, Donovan Mitchell being Cleveland's guy, and then Evan Mobley saying, this is why they call me Slim Duncan. You know what I mean? But you can't have the Wagner boys putting you under the rim. You can't be that light in the pants. You know what I mean? Like Evan Mobley's going to have to put on some weight. But man, it was a hell of a block. That was a hell of a block that he had on Wagner. Even though Wagner put it in his face, he put it in, right hand on the left hand side. Maybe he should have went up with his left hand. Maybe he should just try to throw his body into the Mobley. But remember, Mobley is a guy, one of the top defensive players in the league. He wasn't high. He probably won't be high in the defensive player of the year voting this year like he was last year. Last year he was a finalist. This year he was not. And Mobley was also the dude that was shutting off Paolo Banchero's water.
All over the floor, by the way. Like, Paolo would pull him out to the three-point line. Mobley was comfortable playing him as a perimeter defender. Paolo wanted to bring him to the mid-range. Mobley had his hand in Paolo's face every shot. You want to bring him down low, post him up because he's a little skinny, he's going to fight you. And this is what I liked about Mobley. And I think I've said this on this podcast before. Every time I've watched Evan Mobley before this game, I've been like, I see the skill, but I don't see the intensity. And I think that's part of why the Tim Duncan comparison pops up so often, is Tim Duncan was a great player, but you never saw the intensity. Last night, I saw Mobley throughout the game. He went from trying to put the ball in the basket to, I have to dunk through somebody to make sure this is going in. And instead of, I'm going to try and hit the ball out of his hand and cause a block, I'm going to smash this ball against the backboard to make sure that it happens. And that's just playoff intensity. You realize everyone's going 100% and you need to give 100% as much as you can. And when I saw him doing that, and granted, I actually think they've always shied away from playing him at center. They're like, he's a power forward, which the Spurs used to do all the time with Tim Duncan. But I liked him as the rangy center who can go everywhere. But yeah, he needs a little bit more muscle on his body just so he can take some of the bigger guys in the post. But I just liked that intensity from him of every play he was making, at least in the second half, he was making entirely, completely, with every ounce of effort he had. That's a different player than the guy I've seen before.
The playoffs bring it out of you, man. The playoffs bring it. It shows you something. And now stick a pin in that. John, I'm going to send John a picture because I don't think John has seen Tim Duncan lately.
I have. That man has gotten back into his island roots.
Oh, you have seen Tim Duncan lately.
Look, that is some beautiful hair. I wish he had played with that hair, but that is some beautiful hair that man's got.
Hey, look, if y'all haven't seen it, we're gonna. You know what? If you're on YouTube, John is Tim Duncan today.
If I can find the picture.
That's what John is going to be Tim Duncan today. For those watching the show on YouTube and you will see it. Like maybe that'll be like the cover of the show on when we post it on Twitter so people can see Tim Duncan, what he looks like now. That I'm just telling you. If we had known that Tim Duncan existed back in the day, do you know how much more fun we would have had with Tim Duncan? Remember Tim Duncan used to do like Sprite commercials. That fits right in with the Sprite aesthetic. Are you kidding me? Remember Tim Duncan used to be a Nike athlete. He had the Total Foamposite Max shoes that looked like the spaceships. It was like around the looks of the Foamposites, the penny Foamposites. Tim had a Foamposite Max shoe like that was made for big men. Nike would have had a field day with Rastafari and Tim Duncan. Are you kidding me? Now David Robinson might have been like, "Hey, young fella, I don't know. This is what we're doing around here." But Steven Jackson, Captain Jack, would have had some fun with Tim Duncan. Maybe, and you know what's funny? Don Nelson would have traded for Tim Duncan if he'd have seen or known that this Tim Duncan existed. Oh my God, that's so fun.
Yeah, if Tim didn't go to school at Wake Forest and play his entire NBA career with the San Antonio Spurs, maybe we would have seen some of that Tim Duncan and less of the guy who works at the office with you. He's got the cubicle down the hallway, Tim Duncan. But I want to bring it back to Cavs Magic real quick.
Okay.
I really enjoy the prospect of this Magic team, and I like the defense they play. It's really good. But who was the team the other day? Was it the Suns? We were talking about how the Suns are a team that when you watch them, you're like, they desperately need a point guard.
I know where you're going.
The Magic can get by a little bit with Paolo kind of playing big point guard, like he's LeBron, like he's Luka. But they would be so much better if they didn't have to. And Paolo would be so much better if he didn't have to. And I think they just drafted 2 point guards in this last draft, maybe both in the first round. And I understand that like it was really important for them to win as many regular season games as possible. But I wish they had spent more time. Anthony Black's one of them. Is Jet Howard the other one that they got? I would have liked if they could have gotten to the playoffs with one of those 2 guys ready to play big playoff minutes, because Markelle Fultz is trying his best, but he's just not it.
Yeah, Markelle Fultz. Yeah, Jet Howard he can play big guard, but he's more 2-3 than 1-2.
So Anthony Black is the guy who's the point guard.
Anthony Black is the guy, and clearly Jamal Mosley does not trust Markelle Fultz. And a quick point on Paulo before we go. Remember how we talk about everything's being like switchable basketball, right? And I've railed against automatic switching. Maybe I haven't done it on this podcast, but in general, whenever I'm watching ball as a fan or as a coach, why are you giving up the easy switch? Evan Mobley wasn't giving him no easy switch last night. When he was on Paulo, he was like, "Hey man, move out the way. I got him. I'm not letting this screen get me off." And it was like a cornerback who travels. You know what I mean? Like a cornerback who's like, "Hey, I'm on this guy. If he's in the slot, I'm there. If he's wide out, I'm there. If he's at the X or at the Y, I'm there. I'm there."